Well, welcome back, everyone, to another episode of Meet the Author. Today, I have Abby Millsaps here. Abby, thank you so much for jumping on with me today.
Thank you for having me, Michaela. I'm so excited to chat.
You have some really exciting news coming out. We're filming this today on the
Mhm.
27th, but you're going to
Mhm.
have this probably when the time I post this, it's going to be on the 29th when you have very exciting news. Share with everyone what is coming out on the 29th.
Okay, so on the 29th, I'm so excited to release Boys of Lake Chapel, the complete series. It is every single word ever written for my most popular series, as well as some brand new bonus scenes that nobody has read yet.
So about to say there's three brand new bonus scenes. I know when you were posting about it a few weeks ago, I was like, oh, people are going to be so excited to see these like
I know.
new scenes. What was that like for you, knowing that you were going to put this all together now, but then getting to go back and kind of relive some of those moments, but in different perspectives? What was that like getting to do?
Oh, it was so fun, and I could have kept doing it for the rest of my life. I could just keep writing these characters forever, in perpetuity, like forever and ever. I started the project thinking, okay, I'm gonna do two bonus scenes. Won't that be so fun? Like not just one, but two. I'll do two bonus scenes, and then I couldn't stop. So
And then
it
we
was really
got three.
fun for me. I got to go back to a few moments where like you said, once the series was complete, I was like, ooh, wouldn't it be fun to have a little more insight from that character right then and there? So I worked to kind of weave the bonus scenes into the actual series. This series already had five epilogues. It already had a holiday novella, and then it got another bonus novella. So we've seen them in the future. We know that Joey and her men get this epic HEA. I wanted to give readers a little bit more insight into what happens throughout that journey.
So now that we have these kind of more bonus scenes, would you
Mhm.
tell people to like read them at the same time then? Like, okay, read, obviously the original writing, but then since you've kind of wove them in now, go back and read them
Yes.
alongside with it?
Yeah, so my recommended if somebody is brand new to the series, absolutely start at the beginning of Boys of Lake Chapel, the complete box set, and then just start and read all the way through because I actually put them into where they should go within the story. So there's a
Amazing.
bonus scene in Too Fast and it's like right where it would go. And then the same thing, there's a bonus scene in Too Far and it is direct, like it's marked as a bonus scene, but it's already in the story and formatted that way for you.
See, that's just good marketing too, though, for people who have already read the series. Now they're like,
Yeah.
okay, well, I need to have the complete version because then I don't have to
Yes.
search. I don't
Well,
have
and I have no problem. I have no qualms about telling people exactly where they are. Like you can reread, of course, but I'm happy to also share right where those bonus scenes occur because I know some people have already read the series, have read it multiple times. That way they can get that little extra snippet from it.
I love too though that for first time readers, just because when you do something like this, when you put a complete series
Mhm.
together, sometimes readers they do wait until series are complete, and you do have all these
Mhm.
bonus novellas and bonus scenes and stuff like that, and that's kind of like the little
Yes.
treat basically for them. That's like, okay, now I actually want to start this, and so now
Right.
that they get to read this, it's just going to be again all the way through. And I love that you did it that way, so it's not like
Mhm.
added work to go back and try to be like, okay, wait, where does this go and what does
Yes,
this mean?
right. It's all there for you.
I think that's so awesome. So when did you decide like, okay, you've written the series, obviously, it was complete, but
Mhm.
obviously you missed them. You wanted to go write more about it. When did you decide
Yeah.
I want to put this all together? When did this project kind of like come to life for you?
Oh my gosh, that's a great question. So I wrote The Boys of Lake Chapel and book one of the series, Too Safe. That one came out 2 summers ago. So it's almost 2 years old, the start of book one. And when Too Safe came out, I went on this journey and I get this whole series posted. And then I moved right into my next series, Boys of South Chapel. That's set in the same universe.
Mhm.
So as I'm writing Boys of South Chapel, there are just these little moments where the characters from Boys of Lake Chapel, Joey, Decker, Killian, Kendrick, Locke, they are sprinkled into this new series. And it's just little moments, little cameos, little snippets. But I started to get really kind of aggravated because I'm like, all right, I actually would actually like to write this scene in Decker's point of view. Like I was getting mad at myself. I'm like, oh, I mean, this isn't his series. I cannot do that. But as I'm writing Boys of South Chapel, I just am getting this urge to be like, okay, I want more for them. I want to go back to them. And really that is how Too Sweet came to be. So I had written Too Safe, Too Fast, Too Far, completed series. It was out for a year and a half. Then I was
Mhm.
like, oh, there's another one. There's a bonus novella. And I mean, I don't, it's I guess it is a true novella, but it's like over 30,000 words. It's
Let's
not
say
a
it's
bonus
not
scene.
short. Like some people say novellas and
Mm-mm.
they think like, oh, I'm gonna get like a cute 50, 60 pages of my like it's
No,
like
no.
400 pages, I think.
No, no, right. So I was like, all right, I wanted more with them. And then as I was writing that, it just became natural that I'm like, all right, now that we've got all of this here, and I've gone back through and reread everything, I want to give readers this full, complete, inclusive, like one single KU borrow or one single ebook that has everything included.
Well, and that's so nice too. Like I love when authors are able to do that just because when, the worst feeling for readers, like when you get to the last page of a book and if there's like a crazy cliffhanger, if there's something you don't
Right?
have that next book like in your hand. And so for
Mhm.
this, it's just like, oh, I can just turn the page. Like, here we go.
Just
It's
keep swiping, keep swiping.
like, oh wait, my heart rate's up. Oh wait, no, we're fine. We're fine. Like there's so much more. I have this much left in my book. Like we're good.
Well, and I always say that's one of the hallmarks of how I write cliffhangers in series. The next book picks up right where we left off, always. And so it became very seamless and very easy to transition from like, oh yeah, if you start with too safe and then go right into too fast and then go right into too far, it reads really well. So I love that for people that, yep, you can have that emotional damage, but just keep going. It'll get better.
The emotional damage is going to be there, but I promise, I'll fix this problem, but then I'm going to give you more. But I'll
Right.
fix that one too. Don't worry.
I would say it's like my pinky promise. Like, it'll be okay at the end. That's what it's romance. It has to.
It has to. Oh my gosh, that's one of like the biggest things when books get marketed as romance. I've seen this topic so much, especially recently, and it like doesn't necessarily end up in a happily ever after. It's like
Mhm.
barely there, and people are like, "This is supposed to be romance." Like, what do
Mhm.
you mean?
I always feel like that's one of my favorite things about writing. Like, I love angst, I love drama, but I feel like when you plop it into the container of a romance book, it becomes this safe place to kind of experience those really heightened emotions. But no, like for the reader, you are guaranteed a happily ever after. And so I think that's one of the reasons I really love writing in series in romance, is because it's like, okay, yes, there will be emotional damage, but there's always that pinky promise that it's going to be okay in the end. And yeah, you can feel the highest highs and the lowest lows, but you know for sure you're going to get that HEA.
And obviously, we're talking about this again, complete series is going to be all together in one book now on the
Mhm.
29th. But let's talk about you for just a second. Obviously, this is
Okay.
called Meet the Author. So,
Okay.
what got you into writing? What was that moment that you were just like, I want to do this and like I want
Oh,
to make a career kind of out of it?
okay. So I think like a lot of people, I mean, I loved writing growing up. Absolutely. Like that was it. That was my thing. And I was writing Newsies fan fiction in middle school. And I was, doing power of the pen writing competitions in eighth grade. And I was getting disqualified from those competitions because they said all my stories were too predictable because they always ended happily ever after. Okay, well, guess what? Wish I could
That's
find
what
those
I
judges.
wanted.
So that it was always a passion and really something that felt true to who I am as a person, but it didn't seem like a viable career. So I went off to college. I got a degree in communications and public relations and gender studies, and I got some, marketing jobs, corporate jobs. I did several things. And then during the pandemic is really when I think a lot of it shifted for me. I was helping my kindergartner do virtual learning, which basically meant I was, just in charge of the Zoom every single day. And I had to sit right by her in case the teacher needed her to click on anything because she, her hand's this like big, she can't control the mouse.
That means you're
And I'll never
basically the
forget.
teacher at this point.
So for the fall semester of virtual learning, it was their reading unit. And then for the spring semester of virtual learning in kindergarten, it was their writing unit. And so this teacher, she was phenomenal. And she would make all these little kindergartners recite mantras. And I'll never forget sitting there and listening to like 22 little 5-year-olds chant, I am a writer. I am a writer. And I swear it like unlocked something in my psyche. I was like, okay, I am a writer and I'm not doing much of anything right now. If I'm ever going to pursue something like this, I'm going to do it. I'm going to give it a try.
That's
So
such
that was
a
back in January of 2021 is when I started working on my first book.
That's such a cool, like, unique story. I mean, because I've talked, I do this
Mm,
often, and there's so many authors that
mm,
I feel like really like went all hands on deck, during the pandemic
yeah.
because again, like
Yes.
you said, we're locked up. There's not really stuff that I can do. If there's ever a time to tries to do something for the first time, that was it. But that's
Yeah.
such a cool story, like that it was from something as simple as like listening to your daughter's teacher
Yeah. Yeah.
and hearing all these children, that's I love that. I think that's really so special. And then one day, like you can share too, like what you have all these stories written, and as your, daughter grows up, you can just be like, you played a big part in this.
No, she really did. She really did. I mean, but nowadays, 4 years later, catch me like on deadline, like sobbing into my keyboard. I am a writer. I am a writer.
I think
Mm,
that's so cool though that you again like that's such a unique story that it's so different. Like it's similar, but it's also different. So like you can connect with other authors and people
yeah.
who experience similar things, but also you have this such like a unique twist that's just specific to you. And
Yeah.
again, like it's a cute little family twist that you can be like, no, like it's special to us. Like in one day, obviously, these types of books, maybe you don't want your daughter reading those for a very long time. Really good romance books, spicy books. It's one of those things that I think every time I talk to someone, I'm like, oh yeah, what do you think about your kids one day? And they're like, no, 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 we'll talk about that way later on. Way
Oh.
later on. That's so
Mhm.
awesome. Well, like, what's your writing process like? Okay, you obviously started this 2021. What was that process
Mhm.
like jumping in? Okay, I'm going to start again putting this book together. What was your typical process then versus kind of now? Like,
Mm.
how much has it changed for you in the last few years?
Oh, good question. I mean, I've gotten much more efficient. I've gotten much more confident as a writer. I used to, like, early on, before I even knew what I was doing, before the book was finished, I would stay up late and I'd be writing. And then the next night, I would make my husband sit there and I would read aloud everything I had written. And my throat would be sore by the end. I'm like, I'd be reading like 3 or 4 chapters,
Yeah.
like giving him the audiobook version of what I wrote just to just to share it with someone. I just had this like, okay, I want to share this in some way. So
Mhm.
early on, my process was very, very slow. It also was very scattered. Nowadays, I have a very, I don't know, I have a pretty efficient way of figuring out these stories, knowing exactly how I want to tell them. I always say, since I write Why Choose Romance in a series, I always know the nicknames for all the characters and the cliffhangers before I begin. Like, those are the two things I must have locked in place.
Okay.
And then it goes from there. So I typically write in chronological order. I will skip around a little bit. Like, I don't let myself get stuck. If there's a scene where I'm like, I don't know what, like, this is, if I'm bored, I skip it and go back to it because I'm
Mhm.
like, this needs some work still. But I just start every book and every project with the same very simple mantra, which gosh, it might have been V.E. Schwab who I heard it from originally, but I just tell myself, like, okay, I'm telling myself a story. I start there, and then, everything else will fall into place.
Do you feel like you're more of a plotter or a pantser, like when it comes to writing, or has that changed for you over the last few years?
Great question. I love plotting it out, especially in a series. Like, you kind of have to, and especially because this isn't a standalone. It's not going to hit the exact same like romance beats that people expect from a 80,000 word standalone book.
Mhm.
So I do have to plot. I really like plotting, but then I always leave enough wiggle room. Like, if I guess I'm a plotter wearing like structured elastic pants, if that makes sense. Because I leave myself enough space and enough room to have fun with it. If an idea strikes or like the characters take me somewhere, I absolutely follow that. But I always end up going back to my outline to make sure that I'm hitting the right marks.
Well, that's what you kind of alluded to earlier too, when you were, writing. You were done with the series, but as you're trying to write your new series,
Yeah.
you kept having your characters talking to you, and you're like, no,
Yeah.
it's not about you, it's not about you. But you let yourself go back and be like, okay, it can be about you, I guess.
Right, right. Just wait your turn.
I need to focus. Okay, like your voice is a little too loud. I love you, but silence for a minute.
Right, right.
Out of all, I love to ask this question because I love to see authors kind of squirm. You get a little nervous, but it's just such a fun
Oh.
question to ask. Out of all the characters you've written up until this point, do you have a favorite? Do you have one that you feel like either you connect with the most or was just like the most fun for you to write? I know it's like picking children, like that's why it's such a fun question to ask. But do you have one
Yeah.
that's just like easy?
Okay. Killian is the easiest character for me to write
Okay.
because he is so black and white. He says exactly what he means. I don't have to, there's not a ton of, I just hear him. I hear him so
Mhm.
clearly, and I don't have to sit around dissecting what he said. So Killian is the easiest. Spence from my Boys of South Chapel series, he's very Killian coded, so he's quite easy too. It's just like Killian, but add an accent because he's a British billionaire. Those two characters just flow. But who is my favorite? My favorite character is from my very first debut series. It's a small town romance series. It's from an accidental pregnancy book. His name is Fielding. He was the antagonist in a whole other slew of books I wrote previously. And it's like his character getting that redemption arc and getting that HEA. Like everybody knows Fielding is my personal favorite, but Killian is definitely the easiest to write.
Easiest to write. Do you feel like you've had a character that's the hardest, like on the flip side, that it's like you want to tell their story so well, but it's just like
Ooh.
so hard to like put it in the right perspective or like the right way that it's been slightly more challenging for you? Like it's a character you want, like, oh, I need this person to like come out exactly perfect, but I'm
Mm.
struggling with them.
Okay, so I guess my answer is a little bit unconventional. So the character that I had to give the most like nuance and thought and time and energy to figuring out was a character named Sione from my Boys of South Chapel series. And it wasn't that I didn't know his heart or that I didn't know his voice. It just is that he like the he's just not as loud as a
Mhm.
person, as a character. He's not as loud. He's not as in your face. He is so calm, cool, collected, steady that because he wasn't screaming like some of the other characters, I had to listen a little closer. So that I think, and the listening was so interesting because he's this really, really soulful character. Um, really into alt medicine. Like I went through and got my level 1 Reiki certification as I was trying to like connect to him. So yeah, he was, I don't want to say it was hard, it just was different, if that makes sense.
Talk to me a little bit more about that. Like, what is, I guess, some of the research that you would do that you get
Yeah.
certifications and other things? What is that aspect like that you want to write these characters in the best way possible? So you're actively going, doing
Yeah.
research yourself. What is that like?
I mean, it's just like me being this, thinking I'm this whimsical little fairy, like running around saying I'm doing things for my, this is my process. This is my process. I mean, but Reiki, it was always something that had really interested me. It is something that I've been attuned several times and had received Reiki and was so into the kind of alt medicine and energy healing aspects of it. And so as I was receiving it, I was like, oh, this is definitely in line with this specific character and I want to pursue this. I want to learn more. And there's only so much learning you can do from secondary sources or from research before you really do have to kind of like throw yourself into the situation. And a lot that's not always possible with the characters, with the plot lines, with some of the situations, but in this case it was. So I went for it.
I love that. I love that you had the opportunity and that you took it and it like led you down
Yeah.
something that a like now that you have for yourself, but also again it like lets you connect to your characters more deeply in a way. What is
Mhm.
that like? I feel like people like when they listen back or they watch this for
Yeah.
authors, you always say someone's talking a little bit louder than others. Kind of
Mhm.
walk me through what just that even is like now as an author that you have these voices and you have these characters in your head and even again when you're done writing them like you sometimes they come back and sneak up on you and you're just like oh hello like where did you come from because a lot of people, I can't imagine constantly having voices and like characters and stuff like that in my head. But I know so many authors are like, oh yeah, even like I wanted to write a certain way and my character took me down a whole other path. Like I that was not what I was plotting, but they told me that's where they were going, so I let them. And I'm like, I just can't imagine what that's
Uh,
like. But I love asking, like, what truly does that feel like to you?
um It depends where I'm at in the process of the book. Early on, I'm great at compartmentalizing. I can absolutely separate it. As I get towards the end of writing a book, or especially towards the end of writing a series, it's just such a it's not even so much I hear them, it is I am them in a way, which
Mhm.
sounds, I know that sounds so hippy dippy, but I'll be at the dinner table and I will not be able to like hold a conversation with my family because
Mhm.
I am not, I can't answer that question because I don't have access to like my brain right now. There were times last year when I was writing Boys of South Chapel, I mentioned Spence, he's a British billionaire. There were times where I'm like using words, I'm like, I didn't even know I knew that word. But somehow my pompous subconscious was like, oh yeah, that's definitely something a kid that went to finishing school in England would say. So it's a constant battle and it takes a lot of understanding from the people in my life because there will be times where I'm like, mommy cannot talk to you. Go talk to your dad because I am not here right now. Like I know I'm physically sitting here, but I mentally, I am in Lake Chapel.
You see me right now. I am not present, okay?
I
It's
know.
like, you need just like a not open sign or something that you can
Right, right.
physically here, mentally not present.
Mhm.
I love that. When you need a break from writing or, living these characters basically, I mean, you're living and breathing these characters, it sounds like, a lot when you're especially in that writing process. What do you like to do for fun when it's just like, okay, I'm taking off the author cap right now. I'm taking off the
Mhm.
reader cap, just being here. What's one of your hobbies that you like to do? Or do you have a few that's like something that takes your mind away from writing?
I'm very much a workaholic, so I feel like I don't have a lot of cool, fun, interesting hobbies. I do. I have 3 kids. I love doing stuff with them. We have a I have 2 kids who are one's 10, one is 7, and then a 2-year-old. And so doing stuff with the big kids is like so fun for me. We're on this big kick right now where every single night we put the little one to bed and then they do their finger knitting and then we sit there and we watch an episode of Gilmore Girls, which was something like I
Love
watched growing
Gilmore
up.
Girls.
So it's really fun to like experience it with them and see it through their eyes. I just like spending time with my family. I do like to travel, but lots of travel lately has been book related. So I also love trying new restaurants, going out to eat, just, really letting myself lean into the present moment of what my life is and supposed to be when I get a break from writing or reading.
Where's the coolest place you've ever got to travel doing something book related?
Oh my gosh. You know, I often when I travel for book related events, I don't do anything cool. Like you know what I mean? I was at a
You're still
Polycon last.
working.
Right, correct. I was at a Polycon a couple months ago, and like we went to some great restaurants, but they were all within like 2 blocks of the hotel. Like I
Yeah.
didn't do anything. I'm there with a very specific purpose, and I want to be able to show up full out for my readers. So I feel like, I mean, I guess my answer would be in March. I got to go to an event in Central Florida, and my assistant and we did a whole fun Disney day before we like went into work mode. And so that was really fun. And it was really, I don't know, it was just fun to be there with another grown up and with somebody who I'll never forget. I like gave her this big lecture because I've traveled with my children several times. And I'm like, okay, so halfway through the day, like we can go back to the hotel and we could take a nap and we could do, and then as we're like going through, I'm like, do you actually need a nap, or did I just like apply my knowledge from traveling with a 7-year-old to this situation? She's like, I don't need a nap. I'm like, yeah, me neither. Let's keep going.
You're in Disney World. You're like hyped up. You're like, no, I can keep doing this all day.
Right, right, right. If I don't have to like push somebody else in a stroller and listen to somebody whine while we're standing in line, absolutely.
I love that. And I love that. That's such a cool thing, again, that you got to do, that it does take you like to different fun places. And even if it is just, trying like different restaurants, you said
Yeah.
again, like you're a foodie. So that's still fun, when you get to go on
Yeah.
these work trips, but you're doing so many other things too. And then you get to meet so many
Mhm.
cool people also.
Mhm.
Love that. Love that. Okay, coming kind of back, obviously, to the series, obviously, why we're talking today. For anyone
Yeah.
who really doesn't know much about just you or this series in general, if you had to, I don't even know, I was going to say wrap it up in a couple of sentences, but I mean, it's like so many books now. If you had to try to,
No.
I guess, sell a selling point of
Yeah.
what someone could expect if they're like, okay, I want to, again, it's a complete series now. There's bonus, like, no, there's all this other stuff, bonus material. I want to start
Mhm.
it right now. What would be your selling kind of pitch to them and pick it up?
Okay, so Boys of Lake Chapel. It is a completed Why Choose sports romance series. Enemies to lovers vibes and forced proximity at out the wazoo. So our main character, her name is Josephine. She shows up at Lake Chapel University for the first day of classes. She's like a non-traditional student. She's a little bit older. She gets out of her car, and there are 4 men staring at her. And the first thing that the captain of the football team says is, "She's a girl." And then the emo boy of the group looks at her and he's like, "Yeah, she's a hot girl." Her name's Josephine, but she goes by Joey. So they thought she was going to be a guy. They thought they were greeting the new guy on campus. She has this instant connection with the emo boy of the group, and they make plans to meet up. And they end up hooking up at the first party of the year in a pantry. Chapter 7. The spice starts quite early in this series
You
and
don't make
just
them
keeps
wait.
going from there.
You don't make them wait.
And then a few chapters later, everything's going so well, and she is at her place of work, and the guy she hooked up with, this emo boy, he shows up, and she's kind of really excited because like she didn't even know that he knew she worked there, and he's stopping by to see her. But then she realizes, wait, he's not seeking me out. He's not even here for me. So she follows him and his friend out to the parking lot. And that is the moment everything changes because now, all of a sudden, these men think that she saw something she shouldn't have seen. And they do the very reasonable, logical thing by breaking into her uncle's house in the middle of the night, lifting her out of her bed, and
Taking her.
relocating her to their lakeside mansion where they tell her she has to live for the duration of the football season. So
I
there we
love
go.
that. But when I'm just reading it and everyone's just like, "Oh, just casual kidnapping," it just makes sense. Like,
Well, and I always jokingly call it like cushy kidnapping because there is, it's like, okay, here's your private room with your private bathroom, and let us know what kind of food you want us to order you. And the
we're
whole time,
not
I love
we're not doing
Josephine's like,
anything harmful to you really. Like you're gonna be
no,
fine
no,
here, but you're still kidnapped.
right. You still have no free will. But, my favorite is when like Joey's getting used to living at the Crusade Mansion and she, like, her interior monologue is like, why is this bed so comfortable? Why is this water pressure so great? I'm like, I know, girl. I know.
You're stuck in this mansion against your will, but it's actually really nice that it's like, okay, wait, I would probably pick to be here on my own if I was given the option, but it's because I wasn't that I'm pissed.
Right, exactly.
And what can people expect again now that this is a completed series all the way through? But
Mhm.
obviously, there's going to be some twists and turns. There's spice.
Yeah.
What can they kind of expect as they go throughout the book? You know, heart rate goes up type of
Mhm.
situation. Is there something that you can like just dangle another little carrot that's like, okay? I mean, obviously, to me, you know, it's four guys, one girl. She's kidnapped. Like that's you
Yes,
sold me. But
yes, yes, yes,
there's
yes,
fighting
yes.
in chapter seven. I mean, what else do you guys need?
Well, I will say I love to tell people like the burn meter of this series is so different with each guy. So the romance arc with each guy, like you have this really fast burn, obviously, if she is, hooking up in chapter 7 in the pantry. There also is more of a friends to lovers vibe, a little bit of a medium burn between her and Killian. Kendrick, when she first arrives at the mansion, Kendrick hates her guts. There's no bullying. He's not outright mean to her. My favorite scene in Too Safe, one of my very favorite scenes, she like smacks into him trying to like rush up to her room to change. And she's wearing this bikini. She's soaking wet. She smacks into him in the hallway, and he's a 230-pound running back. And his first thought is like, what the heck? She's going to get hurt. Like, oh, honey, honey, honey. So we have one that really, really hates her and has to grovel. And then we have the slowest of slow burns because our football captain, Decker Crusade, he doesn't trust her. And despite everything brewing between them, he just doesn't feel like he can allow himself to fall for her the way his friends have. So I love the different burns. I also will say in Too Safe, we get an only one bed scene, and I love it so much. And then we also, the representation in this series, like Josephine has. There's pretty intense content warnings for this. They're all listed on my website. They'll be listed at the beginning of the book, but there's a lot of mental health representation. She has conversion disorder, and like, which is a really intense, um, paralyzing form of anxiety when it's triggered. And then we also have neurodivergent rep. Killian's autistic, and then we have like this chronic pain, chronic illness rep because both Nikki and Kendrick. Kendrick has lupus, even though it's in remission in the series. That comes up several times. And then Nikki struggles, he has rheumatoid arthritis, and that plays a huge part in his story arc as we go through the series. So I feel like there's a lot of plot. There's also a lot of spice. Like I just love the blend that you get with this series.
What was so important to you, like that you wanted to include again all these different representations too between you know
Mhm.
the autism and her having to deal with the anxiety and that it's crippling anxiety at
Yeah.
times and stuff like that. What
Yeah.
was that like for you, being like, okay, you wanted to write these characters because a lot of times people read characters, you know, and they're not necessarily like them. So it's refreshing when
Mhm.
people are able to read something that's like, wait, I struggle with this too.
Yeah. I think a lot of my work, I often have, I almost always have marginalized marginalized characters as a central point of my stories. Like especially because we are we're just in this time in this place where it's not people might not feel safe talking about who they are or what they cope with and or what they struggle with, and knowing that I can create an experience where somebody feels genuinely seen, and not just seen, it's one thing to be seen, but to see a character like yourself or a character that you relate to deeply get this epic happily ever after. Like that's the magic to me. And when people say like I also, I've had somebody tell me like, oh my gosh, I have the same kind of sun sensitivities that Kendrick has because of his lupus. And like the fact that it's not, I don't know, it's not this like one off that is sometimes mentioned. It's constant. Like he has to wear long sleeves at the beach and he's stressed before the NFL combine because there's always the chance of a flare up when you have a chronic illness. And so knowing that like it is this foundational piece of a character and that people resonate with that, like that to me is just what it's all about.
Yeah, I think you said it perfectly. It's not like a one-off, like, okay, just to try to check a box. It's like literally this is like this character, this
Yeah.
is like you,
Yeah.
this is like me, this is life that they're
Mhm.
constantly having to think differently, again, going to the beach. It's not like, oh, like, do I pack my sunscreen? It's like, do I have my sleeve? Do I have all these things to make sure that I'm
Yeah.
safe, that I'm good? It's the way of living. And so it's nice that it's just
Mhm.
represented again and again. And so that people are able to connect with you. And I think that's probably one of the coolest feelings, I would assume,
Yeah.
when people do
Yeah.
come up to you and they say, thank you for writing characters like this. And thank you for letting
Yeah.
me be seen in these characters.
Yeah, absolutely. And sometimes people will say they felt seen and it resonated, and sometimes they say, my kid is on the spectrum, and I just did not. I've never read a story where a person with autism got this epic HEA and is so, I mean, honest to goodness, thirsted after online. It's just like such a, I think there's so much power in fiction, but in fiction that really closely aligns with the human experience.
I love that. And I think, again, it's so powerful that you have chosen to, write these characters that way too, that it connects with other people. As we're kind of wrapping up here today, where can people first and foremost find this now complete collection? Again, it's coming out
Yes.
May 9th. And then where can they best connect to you as well? If they're like, oh my gosh, I'm obsessed with her and I need to read everything that she has and everything that ever existed, where can they best connect with you as well?
Okay, so Boys of Lake Chapel, the complete series, it is going to be on Amazon. It'll be in Kindle Unlimited, available through Kindle Unlimited, so it's exclusively on Amazon, and it is only an ebook because it is, I think, 1,300 and something pages. When all said and done, it will not fit in an actual physical book. So if you want it all in one sitting, you can get the ebook. Through Amazon, purchased as an ebook, or check it out. I love the fact that like the box set, despite being so many books put together, it is just one single like KU slot. So when you're like sitting there going, oh, I have to return something to my KU library, no, you can keep this one locked and loaded on your Kindle. And as for me, checking out my website is probably the best place to start, www.authorabby.millsaps.com. That is going to link to all my socials. I'm very active on Instagram. I have a Facebook reader group. It'll get you signed up on my newsletter. And then also would link to my Patreon, which is a really fun place that I love to share sneak peeks and behind the scenes and do like special editions of different things. And then, oh gosh, did that answer the question? And then on my website too, it'll show you everywhere that it'll give a bit of a reading order, connect all the books, all the series, give you like the breakdown of what to read next if you've got through the Boys of Lake Chapel and you're ready for more. It also will show all the events that I have coming up for 2025 and soon 2026. So where I'll be in terms of signings and ways that we could possibly meet in person.
I love that. So organized. So organized. You have it all in one spot.
Trying, trying my best. I am a writer. I am a writer.
I love that. Is there anything today that I didn't ask that you want to say to readers or that you want to mention just to make sure that, again, it's covered?
Oh, okay. I would just say if whether you've already read Boys of Lake Chapel and you're like going to devour the bonus scenes, fun, or if you're just getting into the series, make sure to join my Facebook reader group. It is so fun to be in there and to see everybody posting about their theories and their questions and their reactions, whether they're reading it for the first time or doing a reread. And then you can always like once you're in the group, there are posts that are 1, 2, 3 years old. So you can search for character art and you can search for all the things that we've like talked about as the series has come out over the last few years. So kind of like dipping into that archive of Boys of Lake Chapel goodness. Like if you just want to come obsess over it with us, like join in.
If you need to be just completely immersed, okay? If it just really
Yes,
isn't enough
yes,
for you, go join the Facebook group, and then you can just every single day just enjoy being with people that are like-minded like you and are obsessed.
yes, yes.
Well, thank you so much, Abby, for taking the time to chat with me today. I had so much fun talking with you.
Thank you for having me.
You guys remember again, you can go to her website. You can find this book and so many other books there
Mhm.
as well. So be on Amazon on May 29th. And as always, I will always have updated author interviews, book reviews, and more here at Michaela's Book Nook. And until next time, bye everybody.
Bye bye.